I couldn't receive love. I couldn't receive compliments. I could receive money, but not with worth or deservingness, right? I couldn't even really acknowledge the money that I had, the wealth I was building. I just couldn't hold any of that sensation. Welcome to Money Musings, a podcast that breaks down money, investing, and wealth with zero BS and unapologetic irreverence. I'm your host and money co-conspirator, Stephanie Zenos. Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Today we are going to be talking about energetics as they relate to money. And I have been emotionally preparing for this episode, and a lot of big feelings are coming up, and it's actually been hard to push the record button. So before I even kick things off, I just want to say personal finance and wealth is personal. So if anything I talk about today gives you the ick or, doesn't feel right for you, feel free to slough it off and just move on. But I want to invite you to have an open mind with today's episode as we explore these kind of subtle nuances around money and wealth. Okay, I've been exploring the concept of feminine wealth and what the heck it means to be a wealthy woman. Unlike masculine wealth, which is an archetype we literally see all around us day in and day out on display, feminine wealth is a somewhat emergent area, an emergent archetype. And I'm kind of obsessed with building a new paradigm for what I consider to be feminine wealth. I'm curious, when I just say the words feminine wealth, what comes up for you? Is there someone you think about? For me, I think of Oprah. I'm like, how many women do we really have as feminine wealth archetypes? Not that many. And most of them are in the entertainment business. Someone else said Taylor Swift when I asked this question. So I'm curious, when you think about feminine wealth, who you think of? What comes to mind? In order to dig into this concept, we are going to be introducing a line of inquiry that often elicits an eye roll from certain groups of individuals, namely cough, cough, scientists, cough, cough, engineers, cough, cough, my past life, basically. And that is the area of energetics. So what the heck do I even mean when I say energetics? Energetics are the unseen forces and the subconscious beliefs that determine our outcomes, that determine our feelings, that determine our ability to self-actualize. I was literally on a call with someone who I consider to be a mentor from my past life in engineering and physics. And he sneered at me when I had said that my beloved Matt had gotten a message from God around making a certain decision. And these are the moments where I just thank the universe for my growth, because that was the person that I was too. 5 years ago, if you had told me that you had a relationship to the divine, or you got a message from someone, or you talked to animals, I would have probably dismissed you altogether. I probably would have thought you were, delusional, deluded, just out of your mind. But thankfully, 5 years ago, I came face to face with a wound of my own that I knew I needed to heal. I watched myself reach every goal I have ever had, like financial independence, freedom, a partner, but I wasn't happy. As I've shared before, was independent to a fault. And it was all because I couldn't receive. I couldn't receive love. I couldn't receive compliments. I could receive money, but not with worth or deservingness, right? I couldn't even really acknowledge the money that I had, the wealth I was building. I just couldn't hold any of that sensation. Spoiler alert, I was living in masculine energetics. I had incredible masculine proficiency. I had amassed money. I was doing. I was accomplishing. I was setting goals. I was attaining goals. I was moving all the time. But I had none of the feminine proficiency to help me feel wealthy, to help me receive what I had worked for, to let me embody the goodness of everything I had worked for. So this initiated a huge growth phase for me. I had my feminine awakening. I want you to make note of what happens in your body when I say those words, feminine awakening. Is there a little cringe? Are you like, yes, girl, what's going on in there? I essentially had to reintegrate the feminine aspects of my being, which had been left behind. And maybe you feel this way too. I just know that my experience was for years, for about 35 years. I was so validated for my masculine. I was praised, right? I had everything. I was successful. Our society really, really respects the masculine and masculine proficiency. But it's important that we have both. Why? I believe that to be a wealthy woman, to feel wealthy, to do good, to have the things we want, and to be happy, fulfilled, and whole, we need proficiency in both the masculine and the feminine aspects of money and wealth. Now, of course, we could extrapolate this larger into life, but right now, for this episode, we're focusing on money and wealth. So I want to give you a general introduction to a certain aspect of energetics, namely masculine and feminine energetics, and how they can influence your relationship with money. I want to also acknowledge that there are tons of other energetics that we could be talking about. And today we're just looking through the lens of masculine and feminine, but there's avoidant attachment theory and anxious attachment theory. That's another lens we could look at our relationship with money through. But today, like I said, we're focused on masculine and feminine. And my interest in money and wealth is mostly in my relationship to it now. There will be plenty of time to talk about the do's and don'ts, the tactical. But another aspect of wealth is the being, the feeling, and the relationship. And I believe it has to be that way if we're going to be happy. If this is giving you the ick, if this is making you feel weird, I'm sure someone in the comments is going to be like, #tradwife, just for talking about masculine and feminine, then this episode is for you. Because truly, I had the same response when I first started learning about this. But the last 5 years, I have been dedicated to this type of expansion and learning. All right, so let's dive in. What does it mean to be in your masculine energy? The masculine is defined by doing, by action, right? So it can be planning, it can be foresight, it can be setting boundaries. It's creating a container under which conditions allow us to thrive. The feminine, on the flip side, is all about receiving. It's about being, attracting, magnetizing, holding sensation, embodying, birthing, right? And that is very much rooted in self-worth. Now let's apply this to money. Now, when we apply these dynamics to money, you will notice that there are ways that it manifests that are exalted, positive, yay, and ways that are more shadowy or problematic. So on the masculine side, in its most exalted state, masculine energy with money could look like creating a vision for your life, being able to assess where you are in your current situation with clear eyes, setting financial goals, putting together a step-by-step plan to get there, and then actually taking the action required to meet those goals. That is a great example of healthy masculine energy with money. On the feminine side, being open to receive the money that your energy earned or your efforts earned, feeling worthy and deserving of the money, having a healthy respect for money, being a good steward of money, being a safe place for money to come, embodying generosity and wealth. What does that even look like? What does it feel like in your body? And feeling those things, feeling generous, feeling wealthy, circulating your energy, putting money out, taking money in, with grace. All of us obviously hold both energetics, and a lot of the times we do have stronger proficiencies in one area than the other, or maybe we're just more inclined to one than the other. You may have an idea just from listening to this which area you're stronger in. I want to also chat through a couple of the shadow sides of masculine and feminine energy and money. The shadow side, or the wounded side of masculine energy as it pertains to money, can look like overdoing it, right? If masculine is doing, then shadow can be overdoing. So this could be obsessively tracking your finances, right? Like creating anxiety around tracking every little thing and yeah, making it an obsession. I also like to think of shadow masculine as consumptive, right? So maybe it's a type of investing that doesn't actually do anyone any good. Maybe it's day trading, which is essentially just gambling, right? Like, yeah, maybe it's going to go up today. Great. Like getting in and out, getting that dopamine fix. Also, any type of like forcing energy, right? This could look like financial manipulation of others or, some kind of power dynamics that include financial aspects. So that could be like some shadow masculine sides of money. On the feminine side, right, if the feminine is not in balance or has some wounding or some shadow, it could look like a disrespect of money and wealth, right? Having ideas like, oh, money is evil, rich people are bad, or just literally not taking care of your own money, not having a respect for your own money where you learn to utilize it, where you learn to appreciate it. It can also look avoidant. So someone who never looks at their money, right? Like can't look at their accounts, maybe isn't paying their bills on time. Could also be like fear and anxiety. So someone who can't look at it because they feel too much fear. I think another is distrust. So I think of like being in the feminine as trusting yourself, trusting life. And so a shadow side of that would be distrust, not trusting that life is going to take care of you, not trusting that you're capable of taking care of yourself. Saying things like, I'm not a numbers person, I'm not good at math, I'm a creative type, like I can't do money, those kinds of things. So I'm curious, what that is bringing up for you and where in your awareness, what energy are you sitting in? We all have aspects of both, right? But do you identify a little bit more with the masculine side? Do you have the positive aspects where you're planning and executing and doing really well? Or do you have a little more of the addictive shadow masculine? Are you like prone to day trading? Do you get obsessive and get in the weeds with your money and, have a hard time taking a step back? And on the flip side, on the feminine, like, do you feel like you can embody your wealth, appreciate what you had? Do you feel deserving of the wealth that you have? Are you a good steward for wealth? Are you a home for wealth? Is wealth going to be attracted to you because you're a safe place to land? Or are you avoidant? You can't look at your stuff. You're afraid. You have ideas about money that are not positive. So maybe take a moment and just kind of reflect on that for yourself. One thing that I've heard is that the masculine has to do good to feel good. So for the masculine to feel good about themselves, right, they need to be making those plans, following through, and accomplishing goals. The feminine has to feel good to do good. So that means prioritizing our relationship with money, our ability to receive, not sabotaging when we do finally get what we've been working for, and having all of the self-worth to be able to circulate your wealth. We need both. Wealth is a feeling that requires women to master both the feminine and the masculine energetics. I realized that you can have all of the skills in the world, you can have all of the money, but until you learn to integrate those feminine aspects of wealth, you're never going to feel good. You're never going to be wealthy. We're living in a time when women have developed massive proficiency in masculine wealth building, right? We have bigger jobs, we make more money. You have to remember that less than a century ago, we couldn't even have a credit card or a bank account, right? So we've made these huge strides and we have been very rewarded for stepping into that masculine frame, accomplishing, doing, having our careers, making money. And that is so, so cool. And I just see that we need to take one step further to reintegrate those feminine traits of being and having and deserving so that we can feel good about our money. I'm going to give you a couple more examples of why I think this is so important and how I've observed this. So I came of age in a time where basically all personal finance was geared towards men. And I started teaching women about money. And I noticed that the other women in this conversation who were also talking about money were very much of the kind of neo-feminist, like a man is not a plan, we don't need a man, right? This energy of like, we can step in to the masculine, essentially, and then we don't need a man. And I have a lot of respect for being self-reliant and for, again, integrating those masculine qualities, being able to take care of your wealth. But when I observed these other women, they didn't embody wealth, right? I don't want to name names here, but other women who were in the personal finance space, right? It was almost an aggressive tone. And I really wasn't attracted to that. I didn't feel like I looked at them and saw what I imagined my vision of wealth to be. They didn't look happy or fulfilled. They didn't radiate. And that's what was missing, is that one step further feminine integration of wealth. I also see this in my clients. My clients are incredible women, so ambitious. They are so capable. And I have helped thousands of women now on their path to financial independence and to become millionaires. And what I see more than anything else in this incredible group of women is an inability to actually enjoy their money. Sometimes it comes out like it's hard to spend it, right? We are trained to save and invest. And then when we get to the part where we're supposed to spend money, it's hard for us. I do think that comes from some self-worth stuff, right? In order to feel really good about ourselves and feel good about spending money on ourselves, we have to feel worthy. We have to feel like we deserve it. Many of my clients have plenty of money, and the next step for them is about learning to enjoy it and learning to embody their wealth. And the reason why I choose this concept of feminine wealth to talk about is because I believe if we can come up with an idea of what feminine wealth can be, give us something to aspire to, then we can feel better. We can have a little carrot on this journey that will help us move forward, right? A motivator, so to speak. So I hope I've given you some food for thought. And I do want you to think about and observe yourself in how you are in the masculine with your money. In what ways do you show up with your relationship with money in the masculine or the feminine? Do you have any wounded aspects? Are you able to receive graciously? Do you feel deserving? Are you avoidant? Do you ignore your money entirely? Maybe just journal for a couple minutes on this topic and see what comes up for you. I believe that in this next phase of the world, we need as many women as possible to step into their feminine wealth. We need benevolent feminine power and wealth in order to shepherd us into this next phase of humanity. Truly, that is my belief, and it is my hope that I can help as many women as possible on this journey of transformation to that. All right, y'all. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for allowing me to be part of your money journey. If you heard something that made you think in a new way or expanded your views about money today, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave me a cute little note in the form of a review. See you next time. As always, a quick but important reminder that everything I share here is solely for the purpose of your entertainment, education, and inspiration. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as personal financial, legal, or investment advice. Everyone's financial situation is wildly different, and that's why it's so important that you do your own research and decide what's right for you.